Do your English sentences ever feel a little flat, a bit boring? Well, today we're gonna fix that. We are mastering English modal verbs in just 5 minutes. So let's get started.
Okay, think about a super simple sentence like, you go to the cinema. I mean, it's fine, it works, but what does it really mean? Is it a suggestion? Is it a command? A possibility? How do we add that extra meaning? That flavor?
The answer? Modal verbs. Honestly, the best way to think about them is like the spice rack of English grammar. Just like a pinch of salt can completely change a meal, a single modal verb can totally change the meaning and the feel of a sentence. They don't mess with the main ingredients, the person or the action. They just add all that tasty nuance.
Now, before we get into it, there are just 3 golden rules you gotta know. First, modals never, ever change. You don't add an S for he or she. It's always he can, never he cans. Easy. Second, they're always followed by the simple base form of a verb. No 2 in between. So you say she might go, not she might to go. And third, to ask a question, you just flip the modal and the subject. You can go becomes can you go? That's it. Simple, right?
All right, let's grab our first few spices. This group is all about possibility and permission. We're talking about could, may, and might. Could is like a Swiss Army knife. It does so much. You can use it for a nice, gentle suggestion. You could go to the cinema. It's also fantastic for a polite request, a little softer than asking, can you? Could you turn on the light? Plus, it can talk about an ability you used to have in the past or even an option you have for the future. It's a real workhorse of a modal. Okay, now here's where things get a little subtle. The difference between may and might. They both talk about probability, but they hint at how confident you are. May suggests there's a pretty good chance something will happen. Might, on the other hand, is a bit more uncertain, a weaker possibility. So for example, if you look outside and you see these big, dark, stormy clouds rolling in, you'd probably say, it may rain tonight. You're feeling pretty sure about it. But if there are just a couple of fluffy clouds here and there, you'd be more likely to say, it might rain. See that difference? It's all about your level of certainty.
All right, let's move on to a much stronger flavor. We're talking obligation and prohibition. This is where must and mustn't come in, and these ones really pack a punch.
So must kind of has 2 main jobs. First, there's personal obligation, something you feel is really necessary, like I must go to bed early tonight. The second job is to show you're pretty sure about something, like a logical conclusion. If you see your friend outside in the snow with no jacket, you'd say, wow, you must be freezing. You're not ordering them to be cold, you're just deducing that it's true.
But watch out. Here is a super common mistake. Must doesn't have a past tense form. You just can't say, when I was young, I must go to school. It sounds really strange to a native speaker. So what do? You just swap it out for its replacement, had to. When I was young, I had to go to school. That's the perfect way to talk about an obligation that was in the past. So remember, for the past, must becomes had to.
Now this is really, really important. Mustn't is not the opposite of must. The opposite of I must go is I don't have to go, meaning there's no obligation. Mustn't is completely different. It means something is forbidden, it's prohibited. You mustn't smoke in here. It's not a choice, it's a strict rule.
Okay, next up, let's look at a much softer, more helpful modal. It's time to talk about giving advice with the most famous advice giver of all, should.
Should is your absolute go-to for giving friendly advice or a recommendation. It's not a strong order like must, it's just a helpful suggestion. You look tired, you should go to bed. It's simple, it's direct, and everyone understands it.
And of course it works perfectly in the negative too. When you want to advise someone not to do something, you just use shouldn't. You shouldn't smoke. See? It's strong advice, but it's not a total prohibition.
And for our final group, let's look ahead to the future, and also to those what-if situations. It's time for will and would.
So everyone knows will for talking about the future, right? I will be a musician one day. But it's also really common for making a simple, direct request right now. Will you lower the volume, please? And then there's its partner, would. You can use it to talk about old habits in the past, kind of like saying used to. When I was a kid, I would wake up at 7. But its most famous role is in conditionals, talking about imaginary situations. If I were a millionaire,
I would change my car. That classic if-then sentence.
Okay, let's put it all together in one place. Here it is, your complete modal verbs spice rack cheat sheet. Let's just take a second here. You can see how we go from the gentle possibility of could and might to the strong obligation of must, the really firm prohibition of mustn't, and the friendly advice of should. Go ahead and pause here, maybe take a screenshot. This is your quick guide to adding all that flavor to your English.
So there you have it. Modals are your secret weapon for more expressive, more powerful, and more natural-sounding English. You have the recipe, you know what all the spices do, so the only question is, which one are you going to use first?